My name is Amy Cole. At the time, I had been a real estate agent for 4 years, which was long enough to stop believing the job was mostly about houses. No, houses were the easy part. The real work was managing people while they made the largest financial decision of their lives. Buyers wanted clear answers, but once they pictured themselves living in the house, bad news became harder to hear. Sellers wanted the highest offer from a buyer with reliable financing and as few repair requests as possible. Lenders wanted documents, attorneys wanted accurate dates, inspectors wanted access. Everyone expected the agent to keep the process calm and organized, even when one delayed form or missed email could throw everything off. People saw the commission on a settlement statement and imagined easy money. They didn't see the brokerage split, association dues, lockbox subscription, photographs, gas, or the months spent answering calls from people who might never buy anything. That summer, I had shown 23 houses and closed none. My savings were nearly gone, and I had started putting gas and business expenses on a credit card already close to its limit. So when Melinda Hart called on a Saturday morning and asked me to cover her open house, I said yes before she finished explaining. "You're saving my life," she said. Her voice sounded thick and exhausted. "I've been throwing up since 4. It's Eagle Creek, 1 to 4, vacant, staged. I'll send everything. Any cameras? Doorbell camera and one in the garage. Sellers know you're covering. Just don't let anyone into the primary closet. The stager left accessories in there." "Sounds good. And alarm?" "Yep. Code is in the message. Please get there early. The owners are nervous." Melinda texted the address and instructions while I loaded my trunk. 214 Eagle Creek. Lockbox 4127. Alarm 4172. Then off. Sellers requests all lights off and thermostat at 74 when leaving. I packed directional signs, shoe covers, feature sheets, a clipboard, bottled water, and a small folding table our office used for open houses. I also brought my phone tripod and a charger. Open houses were great opportunities to meet people who had not chosen an agent yet. I needed one of those people. Eagle Creek was a new subdivision built against an older line of woods. Every street curved gently enough to suggest privacy, while delivering every backyard to someone else's kitchen window. The houses were variations of the same 4 plans: white siding, black shutters, stone around the garage, young trees held upright by straps. Number 214 stood at the end of the cul-de-sac. The listing photographs showed pale brick and a red front door. The house in front of me had pale brick and a red front door. Nothing looked wrong. I parked across the street and left the driveway open, planted the first sign at the subdivision entrance, and placed 3 more at the turns. At the front porch, I opened Melinda's message while balancing my supplies against one knee. The black combination lockbox hung from the door handle. I entered 4172. The release clicked. The key inside was old brass, not the silver key shown in Melinda's listing notes. I noticed that. I also noticed the strip of the green tape around its head and assumed someone had changed the key without updating the file. That kind of thing happened constantly. I unlocked the door. Cold air right away touched my face. Not air conditioning. It smelled like wet soil under her house. The entrance opened into a bright 2-story foyer. Beyond it, sunlight lay across white oak floors. A vase of eucalyptus stood on a narrow table beneath a round mirror. The house was clean, staged, and perfectly silent. I disarmed the alarm using the same code. The keypad displayed a few words. "Welcome. Please watch the doors." That was odd. Most alarm panels say ready or disarmed. Some smart systems displayed custom messages, and sellers with expensive homes customized everything. Oh well, I shrugged it off. The panel gave one soft chime. I began my walkthrough. An agent should know the property before people arrive. I located the electrical panel, water shutoff, back door, garage exit, half bath, and every room a visitor could enter. I checked that windows were locked and interior doors opened normally. I moved a ceramic bowl away from the edge of the kitchen island and checked the bathroom drawers for medication or valuables the sellers might have forgotten. They were empty. The house had 4 bedrooms according to the feature sheet. I counted 5. The extra room was at the end of the upstairs hall, small and perfectly staged as a nursery. A wooden toy hung above an empty crib. Small white birds turned slowly, although the air was still. I checked the printed floor plan. Where the nursery stood, the plan showed open space above the foyer. I stepped back into the hall. From that angle, I could see the chandelier hanging in the foyer exactly where the nursery should have extended. I returned to the nursery. It remained there. The sensible response would have been to call Melinda. I did call, but the call went directly to voicemail. So I sent a message. Floor plan may be outdated. There's a 5th bedroom staged as a nursery. Did you know about that? The message showed no signal. I still didn't leave. I'd driven 36 minutes, placed 4 signs, and accepted responsibility for the house. More importantly, I needed leads. The mind can turn almost anything into a reasonable decision when money is waiting on the other side. Before going downstairs, I made a short video of the nursery and hallway for Melinda. I recorded every detail. By 12:50, the lights were on, the blinds were open, the temperatures was comfortable, and the signing table stood inside the foyer. I placed feature sheets beside a bowl of wrapped mints. The house looked ready. At exactly 1, the doorbell rang. The first visitors were a married couple in their 50s. He wore a gray suit without a tie. She wore a cream dress and carried a black handbag in both hands. Their clothes were too formal for a summer open house, but people toured homes on their way to weddings, funerals, church, and work. I had learned not to guess who was serious based on clothing. "Good afternoon," I said. "Come in. I'm Amy." They remained on the porch. "May we come inside?" the man asked. "Of course. Please sign in first. Are you currently working with an agent?" The couple looked at each other. Not glanced. Looked slowly, as if each needed to see what expression the other had chosen. "We came without one," the woman said. They signed the sheet as Mr. and Mrs. Wren. The man wrote one phone number. The woman wrote the same number backward. I noticed right away, but I didn't confront them. People gave false information at open houses all the time. Feel free to look around, I said. The feature sheets are here. Please use shoe covers before going upstairs. Mrs. Wren picked up a blue shoe cover and studied it as if it were an unfamiliar animal. Do the doors remain where they are? She asked. I thought I had misheard her. Excuse me? The interior doors? All of them. Oh yes, of course. Mr. Wren smiled. His teeth were very small and perfectly square. Good, he said. We dislike chasing them. They walked into the living room without putting on the shoe covers. The second group arrived 3 minutes later. A woman with a boy of about 8. The woman introduced herself as Emily. She didn't offer a last name. The boy wore a yellow raincoat despite the clear sky. Is there a basement? She asked. Crawl space only. Can it be reached from inside? I believe there's an access panel in the hall closet. The boy looked up at me. His pupils were thin, horizontal lines. You shouldn't tell us where the doors are, he said. His mother squeezed his shoulder. More visitors arrived. An old man circled each room with a measuring tape. 2 young women in matching green blouses photographed every doorway, but ignored the kitchen, fireplace, and windows. A tall man in work boots pressed one ear against the wall and smiled at something moving inside it. Around 1:30, the house held 11 visitors. None of them asked about schools, taxes, the HOA, utility costs, or the age of the roof. They wanted to know whether any room could be locked from the inside. They asked which door I had entered and whether I had watched it close. They asked if the owners had children and, if so, whether the children slept with their bedrooms doors open. I stopped trying to explain the questions to myself. At one point, I was standing at the foyer and saw Mrs. Wren walking down the staircase. Her reflection in the round foyer mirror moved before she did. It reached the bottom step, turned toward me, and opened its mouth. In the meantime, the real Mrs. Wren was still halfway down. I looked directly at her. The skin around her jaw had loosened. It hung slightly away from her neck, revealing a dark seam beneath one ear. Did you find everything all right? I asked, my lips shaking. My voice remained calm. We found the room you didn't watch, she said. Upstairs, the nursery door slammed. Every visitor stopped moving. The old man's measuring tape snapped back toward his chest. There was no case attached to it. The metal strip vanished between his shirt buttons while his ribs clicked behind the fabric. A chill ran through me. I walked to the front door, my legs shaking. Thank you all for coming, I said. I need to end the open house early. Please make your way out. The front door opened before I touched it. There was no porch. Beyond the threshold lay another living room. It was identical to the room behind me, except that every chair faced the door. 4 human figures sat perfectly upright, with their hands resting on their knees. Their faces were hidden beneath blank white picture frames. One of them whispered, "Close it." I shut the door. All the visitors had gathered in the foyer. 17 faces watched me. The showing is not over, Mr. Wren said. The doorbell rang from inside the nursery upstairs. Their human shapes came apart. Mr. Wren's suit split along the spine. Something tall unfolded from it, joint after joint, until its shoulders brushed the ceiling. Its ribs curved outward like stair railings around a hollow chest. Inside that opening was a tiny entrance hall, complete with wallpaper and a light that flickered above a closed interior door. Mrs. Wren's face slid sideways. Beneath it was a smooth layer of yellowed wallpaper, stretched over a skull, shaped like a house. Her eyes were black windows. Small hands struck the glass from inside them. The two women in green turned their heads together. The backs of their skulls opened on brass hinges, revealing rows of framed human photographs. Every person in the photographs was alive. The boy's yellow raincoat unzipped itself. There was no child inside, only a column of pale hands linked wrist to wrist, holding the coat upright. The creatures rushed toward me. I had nowhere to hide. All of a sudden, a section of pantry wall opened, and someone dragged me into darkness. The panel closed just before the first creature reached the kitchen. A woman covered my mouth. "Be quiet. If you hear someone you know," she whispered, "do not open anything." I nodded. She lowered her hand. We crouched in a narrow passage between pantry and garage wall. It should not have existed. The space was barely 2 feet wide, crossed by pipes and electrical wires that pulsed faintly like veins. 3 people were hiding inside. The woman who had pulled me in was around 30, with cropped black hair and a red sweater, worn gray at the elbows. Beside her sat a heavy-set man in his late 50s, wearing a faded home inspection polo. His left ankle was wrapped with duct tape and part of a curtain rod. The third man sat on an overturned bucket. He was in his 40s, lean and clean-shaven, with an expensive shirt rolled carefully to the elbows. "You're the new host," he said. I nodded. "My name is Amy." "Caleb Voss." He indicated the others. "Tessa Lynn, Roy Haskins." Roy gave me a tired nod. Tessa kept listening to the wall. Outside, soft footsteps crossed the kitchen. Melinda's voice called my name. "Amy, are you there?" "I'm feeling better. You can go home." I shifted toward the panel. Tessa caught my wrist. "No, that isn't her." The voice came closer. "I'm right outside the pantry. Open the door." Something scratched the panel with several fingernails at once. "They can copy anyone they hear," Tessa whispered. "Sometimes they take them from you while you're asleep." "What are they?" "We call them viewers," Roy said. "They arrive looking like people. After they see you, they start building a face you trust." "Can they get in here?" "Not unless one of us opens the panel." The scratching stopped. My own voice spoke from the kitchen. "Tessa, it's safe now." She closed her eyes. The imitation sounded perfect, except for the emotion. It used the reassuring tone I gave nervous clients, but it placed every breath in exactly the same position, as if replaying a recording. Caleb waited until the footsteps faded. "There are 3 tips," he said. Learn them now or get someone killed. He held up one finger. First, they can't turn a handle or cross a closed doorway. They will knock, cry, beg, and use whatever voice makes you reach for the knob. If you keep the door shut, it holds them for a while. Given enough time, they start taking the frame apart. Second, the rooms move whenever no one is watching the doorway. Look away for a second, and a bathroom can become a bedroom 3 houses away. If someone is halfway through when it shifts, they go with the room. He raised a third finger. At 4 o'clock, the real front door returns for 1 minute. It stays in place only while someone watches it. One person holds the door. Everyone else gets out. What happens to the person watching? No one answered. I looked at Tessa. How long have you been here? 15 months. She had attended an open house with her fiancé, Julian. When the real door appeared, Caleb told them one person had to watch it while the other crossed. Julian promised he would return. He never did. The door vanished as soon as he stopped looking at it from the other side. Tessa said, I was standing 3 feet away. It became a wall before I could reach it. Her voice remained flat, but she had pressed her thumbnail so deeply into her palm that the skin turned white. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be sorry. Just don't promise people anything. Caleb watched us. Sympathy wastes time. Your door appears in a little over 2 hours. Amy watches it. We leave. You already decided that? I asked. You opened the house. Well, that doesn't make me disposable. It makes you last. Caleb said it with the calm certainty of someone explaining a fire code. Roy looked down. Tessa didn't. There may be another way, I said. Caleb smiled without warmth. Everyone says that on the first day. The viewers left the kitchen at 2:30. We knew because the doorbell rang once and all their footsteps stopped together. Caleb opened the hidden panel. The kitchen outside had changed. Every cabinet stood open. The drawers extended in perfect steps from shortest to longest. A wet impression shaped like a human body marked the island. At the sign-in table, the visitors' names had sunk through the paper. Pale lines crawled beneath the sheet like worms. We need to move, Caleb said. They will search the walls during the next round. He took a folded map from his pocket. It showed the first floor, but several rooms had been crossed out and drawn again in different places. Where are we going? A house across the street. It has an attic they don't know about. How do we reach it if the front door is gone? Caleb pointed to the laundry room door. We make the house move. Roy stood in the kitchen and kept his eyes fixed on the laundry doorway. Caleb opened it. The room beyond contained a washer, dryer, shelf, and a small window. Caleb and Tessa stepped through. Keep watching, Caleb told Roy. I followed them. Once all 3 of us were inside, Roy crossed last while I watched the open doorway. The kitchen remained where it belonged until he entered and closed the door. Caleb turned off the laundry room light. Nobody looked at the door. The walls groaned. The floor tilted under my shoes. Pipes knocked behind the dryer. On the other side of the door, something enormous dragged itself across wood. Caleb counted to 10 and switched the light back on. He opened the door. The kitchen was gone. Outside lay the upstairs hallway of another house. It had dark green wallpaper and a staircase descending toward a blue front door. Through a window, I saw Eagle Creek stretching for miles beneath a white rectangular sun. Identical roofs covered land that should have ended at the woods. Every lawn was made of black grass. The blades leaned toward the warmth of our bodies behind the glass. In an upstairs window across the street, a woman struck the glass with both hands. No sound reached us. A blank picture frame covered her face. "Stay together," Tessa said, "and never cross a doorway unless someone is watching the whole frame." We moved in pairs. One person watched while the other crossed. The last person stepped backward, never taking their eyes off the frame until the door was closed. It was simple, but that simplicity made it frightening. Survival depended on ordinary attention. A sneeze, a sudden noise, or the instinct to look at something moving beside you could separate the group forever. We reached the attic through a bedroom closet. Roy held the bedroom door while we climbed. His injured ankle made every step slow. Inside the attic, Caleb shut the hatch. The darkness smelled of hot wood and dust. Insulation rose and fell as if the house were breathing beneath us. I took out my phone. No signal. 58% battery. Roy stared at the lit screen. "Ours died before the first door came back," he said. "The outlets don't work here. Nothing we brought ever charged again." I touched the battery pack in my pocket. My equipment was still working because my open house had not ended yet. Whatever happened at 4 o'clock, I had until then to use it. I opened the video I had recorded before the open house. The nursery appeared on the screen. The white birds turned above the crib. I panned toward the hallway. The real-time doorway in front of us was dark green. In the recording, it was cream. I watched the moment I had stepped away from the nursery to look over the railing. The camera remained aimed at the doorway. Nothing changed. The toy kept turning. The room stayed where it was. A person doesn't have to watch, I realized. Caleb glanced at the screen. "What?" "You said rooms move when no one watches the doorway. My camera watched this one while I looked away, and it stayed." "That proves nothing." "We can test it." "Testing it is how people die." "So is sacrificing the newest person every time the door opens." Roy looked at Caleb. "Let her try." Caleb's jaw tightened. Tessa crouched beside me. "How do we do that?" I had packed the smartphone tripod to record a quick social media clip if the open house was quiet. I set it on a joist and aimed the camera at the attic hatch. We keep the recording running. All of us look away for 5 seconds. If the hatch moves, we don't open it. "And if it stays?" she asked. We test it again. I pressed record. All 4 of us turned our backs. 1, I counted. The house creaked. 2, something walked across the ceiling below us. 3, a child began crying inside the insulation. 4, the attic hatch rattled. 5, we turned. The hatch remained beneath the camera. I stopped recording, rotated the tripod toward the opposite wall, and repeated the test. This time, the hatch disappeared. In its place stood a narrow white door with a crystal knob. Someone knocked from the other side. "Amy," Diane called. "Open up. We need to discuss your desk fees." Tessa yelped with relief, her face lighting up when she realized the test had worked. Caleb didn't share her excitement. He stared at my phone. Yes, the camera worked. No one needed to remain behind. The white door remained closed. Diane knocked for 6 minutes. Her voice moved from irritation to concern, and finally panic. "Amy, please, something is up here with me." Long fingernails scraped the other side. I kept my hands away from the knob. When the voice stopped, we turned the camera back toward the door. The white frame held still. Caleb opened it. Beyond it was a long upstairs corridor lined with closed bedroom doors. At the far end, a digital clock displayed 3:08. We had less than an hour. Caleb insisted on carrying my phone and battery pack. "No thanks. They belong to me," I said. "The group needs them." "The group can use them or not carry them." He studied me for a moment and stepped aside. Tessa waited until he and Roy had moved ahead. "Julian wasn't the first person Caleb left watching the door," she whispered. "How many?" "I know of 4. Why are you still with him?" She looked down the corridor. "Because he had the maps. Because being near the worst person felt safer than being alone with those things." Caleb turned. "Keep moving." We crossed 3 doorways without trouble. At the 4th, a bell rang behind us. Every closed door in the corridor began to shake. Voices filled the rooms. Parents, children, partners, people begging to be released. Tessa heard Julian behind a blue door. "Tessa," he whispered, "I came back for you." She stopped. I stepped between her and the knob. Would he whisper if he knew those things were nearby? She listened. The voice repeated the same sentence with the same breath and the same tremor. "No," she said. We backed away. The blue door bowed outward, a face pressed into the wood from the other side, stretching the painted surface around an open mouth. Caleb had already opened the door at the end of the corridor. Beyond it was a sunroom in number 214. I recognized the staging furniture. "Move," he said. Tessa crossed first. I followed and turned to watch Roy. He limped toward us as the bedroom doors began opening behind him. The viewers couldn't turn the knobs. Fingers slid through the gaps beneath the doors, separated into thin strips, and climbed the wood from both sides. They reached the hinges and pulled the doors apart piece by piece. "Keep your eyes on the frame," I told Roy. He was 6 feet away. Caleb looked past him at the advancing creatures. One had unfolded from Mrs. Wren's cream dress. It crawled along the ceiling on limbs shaped like banister rails. Her stolen face hung beneath its body, whispering. Roy reached the threshold. Caleb shoved me sideways. My eyes left the doorway. The frame snapped shut like a mouth. Roy's upper body made it into the sunroom, but his injured leg didn't. For 1 second, his waist disappeared into the wall. He screamed and clawed at the carpet, while Tessa and I pulled his arms. The wall opened again, not onto the corridor. They opened into a dining room crowded with viewers. They seized Roy's legs. I held his right wrist. Tessa held the left. "Don't let go," he shouted. Caleb wrapped one arm around my chest and dragged me backward. Roy slipped from my grip. The viewers pulled him into the dining room. One creature opened its hollow chest. Inside was a miniature foyer lined with coke hooks. Long white fingers folded Roy at the hips and forced him through the little doorway. His body shrank as it entered, bones clicking into smaller shapes. The door in the creature's chest closed. Roy's face appeared behind one of its black window eyes. He struck the glass from inside. The wall sealed. Tessa turned on Caleb, her face red. "You looked away on purpose." "Well, they were going to follow him through." "No, you moved Amy's head too." "I saved 3 people. You're welcome." "You chose the slowest one." Caleb's face hardened, and I would choose him again. The honesty of it silenced the room. The floor beneath us trembled. The clock on the mantel read 3:41. We had 19 minutes. Number 214 no longer resembled the house I had entered. The ceiling had risen out of sight. Closed doors covered the walls from floor to molding. Some short as cabinets, others tall enough for something twice my height. Each door shook beneath the pressure of whatever waited behind it. The round mirror above the foyer table showed rooms that were not present. In one reflection, the nursery crib rocked by itself. In another, Roy stood behind a tiny window in a creature's chest, pounding until his hands left dark smears on the glass. I set my phone on the tripod and connected the battery pack. 41%. More than enough if the phone survived. "Where will the real door appear?" I asked. "The foyer," Tessa said, "always where the host first entered." Caleb stood near the stairs, watching every closed door at once. "The camera is just a theory," he said. "One of us still needs to stay inside. We tested it twice." He looked at Tessa. "She watches. You and I leave. If the camera holds, she follows." Tessa went still. "No," I said. "You met her 2 hours ago. That doesn't make her worth less than me." "It should." The clock changed to 3:56. A little girl knocked from behind the coke closet. "Daddy?" she called. Caleb's head turned. Until that moment, I had not known he had a daughter. "Daddy, I can't see you." His face emptied. Tessa whispered, "Caleb, don't." "Her name is Lucy," he said. "That thing heard you say it before." The child began to cry. "You left me here," she said. "You left everybody." Caleb stepped toward the closet. I blocked him. "If she were really your daughter, would she ask you to open that door?" For one moment, grief showed through everything he had built around it. He backed away. The voice changed. It became Roy. "He did it on purpose," Roy said behind the door. "He always does." Every knob in the foyer began turning. The viewers couldn't open the doors, but the house was helping them. 2 minutes, Tessa said. I aimed the phone at the place where the front door had been and started recording. The screen showed a red door. The wall in front of us remained blank. It's already there, I said. Where? The camera can see it before we can. On the phone screen, the brass knob slowly turned. The closed doors around us split at the hinges. Hands entered first, dozens of them, pale and linked, wrist to wrist. They raced over the floor, carrying the empty yellow raincoat above them. Mrs. Wren came through the ceiling. Her long body folded down in sections. The tiny room inside her chest was filled with people standing shoulder to shoulder, their mouths moving in silence. The 2 women in green pushed through opposite walls. Their hinged skulls opened, and every trapped face inside screamed with a muffled voice. Keep looking at the phone, I told Tessa. The red door sharpened on the screen. Its outline appeared on a real wall. 3:59. Caleb grabbed the back of my shirt. She stays, he said. Let go of me. I'm not risking my life on your phone. He shoved Tessa toward the forming door and tried to force her to face it. Watch it, he shouted. You watch until we're through. She fought him. The creatures crossed the living room. I struck Caleb's arm away and pulled Tessa behind me. Nobody stays. The clock changed to 4 o'clock. The red front door became solid. A black lockbox hung from the inside handle. The 4-number wheels spun beneath its cover. Caleb lunged for it. I caught his wrist. The wrong code opened this place. We need the right one. Move. What's the code? He stared at the wheels. He didn't know. I remembered Melinda's message. Lockbox 4127. Alarm 4172. I turned the first wheel to 4. The door became transparent around the edges. On my phone screen, it remained solid. The camera was holding it. I turned the second wheel to 1. The empty yellow raincoat jumped onto Caleb's back. He tore it away and threw it against the wall. The hands inside scattered, crawling up the wallpaper. The third wheel clicked into place at 2. Mrs. Wren lowered her face beside mine. Her black window eyes reflected the real porch. Behind one pane, Roy struck the glass and mouthed the word, hurry. Tessa swung the metal sign-in clipboard into the creature's face. The wallpaper skin split. Beneath it, a narrow hallway opened straight through the creature's skull. I turned the final wheel to 7. The lockbox opened. Inside lay a silver key, the real one. I pushed it into the lock. Caleb seized my phone from the tripod. The red door flickered. What are you doing? Tessa screamed. He backed toward the door with the phone clutched to his chest. It comes with me. It has to keep watching the door, I begged. You keep watching it. There was the truth. The camera has created a way for everyone to leave. And Caleb still chose a version that required someone else to remain. He trusted sacrifice more than he trusted escape. He pulled the door open. The real porch waited beyond it, bright with the late afternoon sun. Caleb stepped across, carrying the phone. The moment the camera passed the threshold, its view swung away from the door. The doorway folded inward. Caleb's right side reached the porch. His left side remained in the house. He screamed as the frame tightened around his waist. "Look at it," he shouted at me. "Hold it." I looked directly at the door. It stopped closing. For 1 second, Caleb hung between worlds. Tessa could have crossed while I watched. I could have followed her only if Caleb kept his eyes on the door from the porch. But he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at us. "Take my hand," he begged. Behind him, the real street waited. Behind us, the viewers closed in. Without taking my eyes off the door frame, I reached for him. Caleb grabbed Tessa instead. He pulled hard, trying to drag her into the narrowing frame so the house would take her place. Tessa struck his hand with the clipboard. His grip broke. The wrinkled hands climbed his trapped arm. Mrs. Wren wrapped the two railing-shaped limbs around his chest. Caleb looked at me as the creature pulled him backward. "You will die too." The frame released him. He vanished beneath the viewers. They didn't tear him apart. They opened him. His ribs spread into a wide staircase. His spine lengthened into a banister. His face flattened against a small black window at the top landing, still conscious, still watching as the rest of him became another room inside Mrs. Wren. My phone lay on the real porch where Caleb had dropped it. Its camera faced the sky. The front door began fading again. Tessa caught my sleeve. "Amy." I looked at the tripod. The phone was gone, but the battery pack remained strapped beneath the mount. My laptop was still in the folding bag under the signing table. I pulled it out, opened the camera, started recording, and placed it on the floor facing the door. The red frame snapped solid. Tessa stared at the screen. For the first time since I had entered the house, she smiled. The viewers rushed us. We crossed together. Tessa stepped onto the porch first. I followed without looking back. The laptop remained inside, camera pointed at the open doorway. For a few seconds, nothing happened. The loophole worked. The house considered the door watched, even after no human remained. I reached through, pulled the door closed, and turned the silver key. The laptop disappeared behind the redwood. Every open house sign on the street fell over at once. The lockbox snapped shut. The number wheels returned to 0. Something struck the other side of the door with enough force to shake the frame. I didn't open it. My phone gained service at 4:03. Only 3 hours had passed. Tessa had been missing for 15 months. She called her mom from the curb, but when someone answered, she covered her mouth and broke down. I took the phone and told her mom Tessa is alive, and we're calling the police. The police found nothing unusual inside number 214. It was a 4-bedroom staged home with an open foyer where the nursery had been. There was no passage behind the pantry, no endless corridor, and no black grass outside the windows. The lockbox opened with 4127. When an officer entered 4172, nothing happened. The cellar's doorbell camera showed me entering alone at 12:11. It recorded no visitors arriving all afternoon. At 4:03, the red door opened, and Tessa and I stumbled onto the porch. For 3 hours between those moments, the camera showed the house standing empty. Roy Haskin remained missing. His family had last heard from him in October 2022, when he texted that he was entering an attic during an inspection. Police found no missing person report for anyone named Caleb Voss, who matched Tessa's description. She believed he had given them a false name. I stayed in real estate, but now I verify every address and read every lockbox code aloud before entering it. If it ever accepts the wrong code again, I will not open the door. I know now that some mistakes are invitations.